The second week of the legislature starts tomorrow, and two major priorities are on a collision course. The GOP is promising an aggressive anti-fraud agenda, while the DFL is hammering hard on the immigration crackdown and the continuing fallout. In just a few minutes, we will hear my interview with Republican House Majority Leader Harry Niska from earlier this morning. But joining me right now is the DFL Senate Majority Leader, Erin Murphy. Thank you so much for coming in.
Good morning.
You have a specific bill that talks about the requirement to render aid. You are also a registered nurse. Some people know that, not everybody. Yeah. But one of the issues when the fatal shooting of Renee Good and Alex Preddy is I think a lot of people were stunned to see that in the aftermath, the immediate aftermath of the shooting, there was not aid rendered by the agents there.
You know, since 1991, we've had a law in Minnesota that requires if you shoot somebody or witness a shooting that we render aid. There are criminal penalties attached to that. We moved a piece of legislation that also adds a civil right of action so that someone like the Preddy family or Renee Good's family can seek justice against the federal agents who did not render aid.
Because you want civil penalties so somebody could sue.
That's right.
Okay. And what's been the response to that proposal?
You know, I think that it is met with like disbelief that we have to move a law. I think when I think about and listen to and watch the video from that day, I am still stunned that there was no effort to render aid, no effort at CPR, to Preddy or to Good, to either of them. And there were physicians present in both cases.
That were denied access. They asked.
Eventually, there was a physician allowed to assess and do CPR on Mr. Preddy. But the agents, if you read the affidavit from the physician, the agents were there, had his body turned on its side. She believes they were counting the bullet wounds. And she had to move them away so that she could do CPR. It's just wrong.
Let me ask you, Republicans want to make changes to the paid family leave bill, which just went into effect in January 1st. Again, you are a registered nurse. You have very strong opinions about this. Their concern is that it's too costly for businesses in that too many employees will take time off and they won't have any workers.
I think one of the benefits of paid family medical leave, in addition to the obvious one, which is if you have a new baby, a sick parent, you're sick yourself, that you can get the care that you need or provide the care for your family member and not lose your job. But I think one of the benefits that we're not talking very much about is worker retention. If you have a skilled worker, they're going to look for a place to go and work. And paid family leave allows people, regardless of where you're working, to execute what you need to do for your family and keep your job.
And I know there was a lot of effort from Melissa Hortman and from you to protect that paid family leave before it went into effect. I want to ask you about Majority Leader Harry Niska is proposing a bill, and we'll talk to him about this in just a few minutes, where employees or where there would be firings in the event that people oversaw fraud. In other words, state employees would be fired. Shouldn't more people have been fired in all this mess?
You know, had I been responsible for the agencies, yes, I would have fired people more swiftly and sooner.
You ran for governor, so.
I did. But, you know, there are new people. There have been people that have been let go. There are new people in position in leadership.
There's that one assistant commissioner of DHS that was fired in September, but there really hasn't, I haven't seen it.
So, yes, I think that would have been my step. But I think more importantly, the legislature has a responsibility to oversight. And in January, Senator Hoffman, in his return, and we're so grateful for his return back to the legislature.
He looked great.
Yeah, he
looked
does.
Really good.
He did two days worth of oversight hearings in January. House members were invited to that for the Department of Human Services. It is our responsibility as a legislature to do oversight. We are doing that work. I think you'll see more of that. But I also want to say, and it is not sexy work, but the Senate Democrats have moved for the last 3 years a pretty hefty agenda on anti-fraud measures, and you'll see more from us this year, anti-fraud and anti-corruption.
All right. I think the frustration for people, voters, is that they haven't seen the results, or they keep hearing about the problems. Anyway, Senate Majority Leader Erin Murphy, thank you so much for being with us. We
Thanks
really appreciate
for having
it.
me.
Absolutely. Yeah.